You're listening to the Coach Hodge and Banks Show on the Coaching, Culture, and Athletics Radio Broadcast Network. Sit back and enjoy the show. Please note, the views and opinions discussed in this podcast aren't necessarily the opinions of the host and or Coach Hodge and Banks Show on the Coaching and Culture Athletics Network.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 7. That has a nice ring to it of the CCA podcast. You know what? Tonight we welcome first-year head coach of the Fort Madison Bloodhounds football team, Doherty. And it's also a welcome back to Iowa from our brief trip to Texas over the past few episodes. And by the way, we're going to hit back to Texas next Sunday night. So Texas has shown us a lot of love, so it's pretty exciting. Coach, tell everybody a little bit about how excited you are for this opportunity that's looming large this fall.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, I keep saying in all my interviews, this is a dream come true. Being back in my hometown, doing what I love to do. It's an absolute dream come true. I'm beyond excited, and I'm excited, but it's not about me. It's really about this program. It's about the kids. It's about these coaches. It's about this community. And so as excited as I am, it's bigger than that.
Yeah, and it truly is. And I've been able to see you briefly in action and how, the excitement, the love for the players, that's just going to roll in. Now, if you are listening live right now, if you click on the link to the show, and then click on it again, you can get into the chat room. And as I promised, 25% off this new book that's called The Mad Culture Present Today in Athletics that's going to be coming out here in August. You can get 25% off if you write down the icebreaker question that I'm going to ask Coach Doherty. And this is kind of a first official attempt at this icebreaker question. He has no idea what it is, but I'm going to guarantee that there's a lot of people out there in social media la la land that are going to roll their eyes and have fun with this. So, Coach, you ready for this?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Now you have to be honest, but you don't. You can plead the fifth if you like. Okay, I'll just throw that out there. All right. Here's icebreaker question number 1. What do you think of the 1 million people that have signed up to storm Area 51 September 20th?
Well, I'm a science teacher, and there's people out there that believe the Earth is flat. So I'm not surprised, man. People, they amaze me.
Oh, and the funny thing is this is bad. It's like everything. Every time you pop onto the media, you see something else that's popping up here, popping up there. And, this has got to be a joke. I know it's a joke, but I think there are people that think this is serious.
Oh, for sure. There's people wanting to jump on board with that. And, yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, I'm telling you. So if you are the first person in the chat room and you write down what that question or icebreaker question was tonight, you're going to get 25% off the book when it comes out. So definitely take charge of that. Now, back to, we want to keep it light here a little bit. So now back to the topics tonight. We're going to talk about building from the ground up. Have student athletes changed over time? Parent involvement, the parent coach, and coaching philosophy, I hope. I think last night I had Coach Span on. And, I think we got through like one question. So it was a lot of fun. Now, your culture. Obviously you're a local hometown guy and you're excited about this opportunity. Now, what are you going to do? Are you you're building this baby kind of from the ground up. What do you want your culture to look like 5, 10, 15 years down the road?
Yeah. So I was lucky. I had Coach Schiffman the last 2 years, and him and I are mentally we're a lot alike. And he was doing and implementing a lot of the things that I felt that we needed to put into this program. So we're just kind of running with that. But my biggest thing is that our kids, one, love each other. Two, they love the game of football, and that they want to do right, and they want to become good young men later on in life. So my coaching philosophy is education through football. We can do a lot of things through this beautiful game of football and teach these guys how to be good young men and be successful in the future.
Now, Coach Schiffman, he took a job at a college up and around the Chicago area, right?
Yes, sir. He's at Lake Forest.
Yeah, tell him to follow me on Twitter. I follow him, but he won't follow me yet. No, I'm just giving him a hard time.
he's a Twitter guy. Just ask him.
Oh, man. Yeah, great guy. Now, let's see. If you rewind a little bit, okay, and you're looking. You know these kids. You know them pretty much inside and out. Is kind of what I see. Now, how are you gonna? In today's day and age, it's difficult, especially in our area, to get enough kids out to begin with. But to get the right brand out and to get them to mesh well together. What are your steps that you're going to take, Coach? To basically have everybody buy in and know that you're going to be there for a long, long time.
Yeah. Not just myself, but my staff. I mean, I think that's what's really awesome about what we've got going on right now. So I'm a Fort Madison guy. Both my coordinators are Fort Madison guys. We have other area and Fort Madison guys on the staff and people wanting to be involved. So this is a staff that's cut from the same cloth as these kids. We had some of the same teachers as these kids. I mean, it's wild how we can relate to them. So it's not an outsider coming in, nothing against, people that have come from the outside, but we know what it's like. We've been there. So I think that's a really cool thing. And I've got awesome coaches. They're wanting to build this thing just as much as I am. And these kids that we have right now, they're a special group of kids. We have over 100 kids and not just football players, but I mean, we've had over 100 kids every single day, all summer long at our athletic enhancement. And a large part of that is the football kids. And we've got kids they're going out for wrestling in the winter. They're going out for track in the spring. And because they want to be good, and they're coachable. They're going out because coaches are telling them to. So we're starting to get that buy-in, and I don't know, man. It's a lot of fun seeing it, and it's no credit to me that started with Coach Schiffman. I mean, he came in and he had these ideas and he had these things, and he said these are the things that we need to do, and kids started doing it, and it was easy for me to pick up where he left off, and the coaches believe in what we're doing, and it's just been rolling.
And I think that's fantastic. That kind of leads into this question, and this is an important one because we live in the day and age where it's much easier to oversleep and then show up when camp starts. So what are your off-season expectations for your players?
Yeah, so we lift 4 days a week. We're Monday through Thursday at 8 o'clock. We used to have a lot of different times for kids, but I feel that it's important that they're in there together. And so having them be there, have to sacrifice, and 8 o'clock's not early for some of us old folks, but for kids, it's super early, but they're getting their butts out of bed and they're coming in. So we're lifting 4 days a week or doing some sort of speed and agility, things like that. We call it athletic enhancement at Fort Madison High School. And then we're doing 2 install days a week. And I believe in keeping things on pace and going. So it's an hour, and we stay true to that hour for the most part. I mean, we're on the hop, we're flying around because we want them to be kids too, and this is a great time in their life. I was at a wrestling camp this morning, and that was what one of the clinicians was talking about, was this is probably, one of the best times of your life, and enjoy it, work hard, do the things that you need to do, but enjoy it. And I thought that was a really good message.
Absolutely. Now, what about the kids that miss? How do you engage? And again, it's all about positive reinforcement. Getting the players to buy in and kind of reach out to their buddies, and you know what I mean, to get them there because it's very special. To have that, within that system. Now, there have been, other school districts that I've worked for and other things. They had like if you missed so much, you had to do this extra running or doing those sorts of things. But I do know that it's getting tougher and tougher, to be able to build that to where, it's a necessity,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, athletic enhancement, player development, whatever you want to call it, it's vital. I mean, back in the day, lifting weights was kind of an edge. Nowadays, it's not an edge. It's a necessity, like you said, in order for you to even be relevant. And so the ante is up to be a good athlete. The ante is up to be a good team. And, if I had the answer how to get some of those leaders involved, I'd probably be a really rich man or be doing a lot of really, really great things. But we have some things that we're doing. Like you said, I believe in positive peer pressure. These kids hear from us all the time, and me messaging them, yeah, they're kind of expecting it. But when their teammates start messaging them and saying, hey, man, it doesn't have to be negative. Hey, man, I missed you and wish that you were there. I believe in that positive, because who wants to come to an environment where it's negative, and if you're not there, and then we're ragging on you and calling you soft or whatever, that doesn't work. And so, we're really big with our guys on, again, loving each other. That's what I said at the beginning here. And if you really love each other, you're going to be there. And if they're not, you're going to let them know that you missed them and that you want them there. And that goes into that culture. I mean, we're still working on it. We'll probably be working on it for my entire coaching career, and that's fine. But we're doing other things. I mean, we have a system right now. I call it the AEFL, and I put them on teams. That way, instead of 2 guys being considered leaders and they're in charge of 60 guys, I put them on teams of 5. So we have several different teams of 5, and you know what? You worry about your 5 guys, because if I'm worrying about my 5 and you're worrying about your 5, we're going to get them there. And it's a point system weekly. And at the end of this off season, there's going to be a reward for the winners. And again, it goes to competing. We want our guys to compete in everything that they do. It doesn't matter what it is. We want you to be competitive and try to be the best that you can be. And this is one of them. And there's some banter going back and forth between there's a 3-way run right now up at the top, and these guys are kind of getting after it. But on the bottom side, this is what we're trying to get rid of here at Fort Madison right now. A lot of guys right away were, we're not going to win. And that negative mentality, and we're trying to get rid of that sickness right now. And, you go in positive, you go in ready to go, and you give your best every single time. So, we're in their ear a lot about this AEFL. I'm sending out messages all the time about who's leading, who's doing the right things, and, kind of leaving it up to them. You can jump on board or not, I guess.
Yeah, and I do like this AEFL. I know we did something similar back at the old school district that I worked for, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. Yeah, we had a good time the other day when we were talking about that sort of stuff. Those memories and things like that. But it's one of those things. And you know what? Once these kids buy in, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a win on that scoreboard on Friday night. If they're seeing personal victories within, they're getting better each week. It's going to pay huge dividends. And I want all the athletes, no matter what school district that you're from, sometimes it isn't about that win or loss at the end. It's about getting better and being able to prepare to go to battle, the next week. And, by no stretch of the imagination, you guys have been much, much better the past couple years.
Yeah. And again, that goes back to Todd McGackey was the one that implemented our athletic enhancement and started getting these guys doing the things that they needed to do, and just kind of snowballed from there. And I'm huge into player development. I mean, I'm a multiple sport coach. I was a multiple sport athlete, because you can get better at being a football player by wrestling or playing basketball. There's only so many things that we can do with you as football coaches in the off season. So your off season might be playing basketball or wrestling. And I'm a big Urban Meyer fan. And Urban Meyer said that when he was changing the culture, when he was a high school coach at first, was getting his guys to learn how to compete. And some people say it's you versus you in the weight room. Yeah, sure, I can see that. But there's something way more important about lining up across the lines from a guy from Keokuk or Mount Pleasant or Fairfield or wherever and competing against that man. And the only way that you're going to get better at competing is by competing.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. I remember as a defensive coordinator, I tell you what, I was playing chess with you, and there were a few times that I thought I was in pretty good shape last year, but for whatever reason, I lost that chess match, and you guys were much improved. I'll just throw that out there. When we look at that now, building team chemistry that works, and you've kind of touched base on that. It's about love. It's about changing the tide. It's about putting this positive peer pressure out there and getting the kids to compete, and I love that. It's one of those things when you're looking at coaching philosophy, where do you draw it from? Okay, let me rephrase that. What's one non-negotiable, okay, that could establish a positive culture within your football program, that immediately comes to mind?
Well, I think you said it's love. It's absolutely love. I mean, I think back to the coaches that I would have done anything for. It goes before that. My parents, my parents were fantastic role models, and they got on me when I wasn't doing the things that I needed to do. But I knew that they loved me unconditionally, and they kind of allowed my coaches to coach me then as I got older. And you know what? I had Coach Smith, and I loved that man. And some days I was angry at him because he was on me, but he was on me for the right reasons, and I knew it. I might, being a young guy, I might have tried playing victim a little bit, but deep down, it. And that went all the way through my athletic career. I mean, I've talked a lot about Coach Bell, who was my college coach, and I remember when my dad took me on that recruit visit, I listened to Coach Bell speak for 5 minutes, thinking, I want to play for this guy, and that's the type of guy that I want to be when I grow up. And I love watching those types of coaches. Nick Saban, the dude's a fireball, and he's hardcore and he's whatever. I'd rather watch Dabo Swinney. I mean, I think Dabo loves his dudes. He shows it. He's not afraid to tell them how much they mean to him and how much he loves them. And kids, they need that.
It truly is about building that relationship, with those kids. Now, I did have a question last night from Coach Evan Swanson that I didn't get to. And let's just get your thoughts a little bit, and then maybe I'll chime in as well. Do you ever feel like there are kids who don't want to build a relationship with their coach?
Yeah. Actually, when I was interviewing for this job, that was one of the questions that they asked me was, tell us about a tough time that you've had coaching. And there was a kid that, I don't know. I really don't know what it was. We didn't vibe. I had his best interests at heart. He couldn't really open up to me. I don't know if it was personality conflicts or what, but we tried. I coached him for 4 years, and we still have a relationship a little bit. He's now that he's grown up a little bit, he's been out of school for several years. He's actually contacted me and said, I've seen, or I see what you were trying to do, and I was young as a coach too. So I was probably a little more abrasive than I am now. Not that I do all of the right things now, but sometimes when you're young, you fight fire with fire. And maybe I gave him a little attitude back when he needed love. And that's one of the things. I'm really big on reflection, and I look back to where I was making mistakes and things that I was doing and I didn't like when I was involved in cultures that I didn't agree with, but I went with. And through age, maturity, experience, all of that, I'm reflecting and I'm changing and I'm trying to do what's right. So, but yeah, I've had that experience where, it was a wall and it was tough, man. It was rocky.
Yeah. Coach Hodges, he's coaching tonight against Carlisle, but he made the following statement, and all of us coaches, go through this, and, if we're not learning, we're getting worse. And if you're getting worse in coaching, man, it's time to get out for sure. But, the top ways to create a positive culture, here's what he says: love, vision before the good, be who you are, conviction, grow, but always do what's best for your people, have vulnerability, ownership, and expectations. And
Absolutely.
He went through a struggled time. He took over after a Hall of Fame head coach, Bill Huseman, who's coaching, I think, in a district game tomorrow night. And he's still coaching, still winning, after 600 wins. And, he got into the situation. They weren't very good, and then he eventually won a state title. So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy when you look at that, But love and vision before the good, and I think you're headed there.
I think when we're talking about that, like I said, some days I might have been mad at my coaches, but I think deep down you understand. Sometimes just being young and arrogant and other things like that, you kind of get in your own way. But the fact that, first of all, with my guys, it's lifelong. My guys know that I'm there. I don't care if you're 25, 35, whatever, I'm here. And I think by him reaching out to me all these years later and having contact with me, conversations, saying that stuff, he knew that I loved him, and I still do. I mean, if he called me tonight and needed something, I'd be there. I love our dudes. I mean, I really do.
I look back to a lot of, what I would have called my problem child, or, difficult, student athletes to reach. And they do the same stuff, man. They come up to me. I get invited to their wedding, and I'm like, oh, stuff like that. It's definitely pretty doggone awesome.
That's the greatest thing in the world when you see these guys become husbands and fathers, and you get those invitations and they write you little messages. And you know what? Teaching and coaching is the absolute best occupation in the entire world.
Yes, and we need more teachers and coaches like you. I'm just going to throw that out there. Now, okay, what destroys a culture from within? And you and I have been coaching long enough. We've experienced these types of things. Trying to do what the outside pressures want you to do, trying to satisfy what you want rather than what's best for your team or organization. So those egos, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we're all, as competitors, we're all egotistical. I wish that I could sit back and say, I'm totally open-minded to everything. And I'm a competitor, and sometimes I get stuck in my ways, and a lot of that goes back to reflection. And at the end of the day, I need to reflect. And am I doing what's right for my guys, or am I doing what's right for me? And that answers the question majority of the time for me. Those outside pressures are tough, and for every coach, that's a fear, because everybody loves you until things, go bad. And then you have all these outside pressure, you have all these suggestions, and you have this and that. And, where are you guys at Monday through Thursday is always my question. And I understand that some people they want to help, and they throw out their suggestion, and it is what it is. But hey, man, come on board. We've got coaching openings. There's all kinds of volunteer positions. We would, if you got the answer, cool, let's roll. But yeah, I think that a lot of cultures are killed by personal ego. And then obviously outside issues.
Oh, yeah.
You read about it all the time.
It's those extrinsic factors. When you look at a culture, when I started writing this book, I thought it would be easy because I've coached, I've been a parent, I've been a player, I've done all these sorts of things, I've officiated. But you also have to look at the community members, what the makeup is and all that sort of stuff. It's definitely a lot harder thing to do than people think.
Yeah. Well, I started talking to you the other day about it. I'm a football coach. I like coaching kids and then X's and O's. That's what I like. And now as a head football coach, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff. Kind of blindsided me and not that I minded. I mean, I like being involved in my community and I'm lucky. We've got great people who support this program and help run things, but things that you don't expect as a first year head coach maybe. And I know Coach Schiffman put out a tweet earlier about advice for first year head coaches. And I read through everybody's comments because it means that much to me, and I want to do this the right way. And I know that I'm going to be blindsided some more. And 25 years from now, if I'm still the man, I'm going to be blindsided enough then too. But preparation, reading, preparing, and trying to be ready for when those things happen.
Now, how much stress do you put on yourself as a first-year head coach? Do you feel like you're overstressing? Especially coming into this thing. I mean, you've been on staff for several years, but sometimes I think first year head coaches they're putting a little bit too much on their shoulders.
Yeah, my mom's listening to this live, and I can only imagine her laughing right now because I'm a high rev person, and I get that from her. But I'm super competitive. I want to do the right things, and I do overstress. I've always been that way. That was probably my number one bugaboo as an athlete was, competitive anxiety and things like that. Trying to prepare for things that you really have no control. I've gotten better at that. And one of the biggest things that I remember my college coach talking about was control the controllables. And this man was so even keeled. It was crazy. He was never too high, never too low. I wish I had that, but like I said, I'm a product of my mother, and sometimes I'm a roller coaster, and that's just how it is, and you learn how to hopefully deal with it in the best manner possible. But I'm putting a lot of stressors on myself, but it's to me that's a positive. It's a positive because it shows me, number one, that I care about our guys. I care about this staff. I care about this community. I care about this school and this program. I want to do it right. And if I didn't feel those stresses, then I'm probably in it for the wrong reason. And so sometimes they suck, but to me, it's very real. Letting me know that I do care. I have a give a damn,
Sure.
And I do give.
Now Coach Lyle posted something this week, and I like most of the stuff that he posts, but he said, yelling coaches are a little bit more negative than the coach that can sit back, psychoanalyze and be calm. I disagree with Coach Lyle on that comment because I am so animated. I'm not yelling and destroying or demeaning the student athlete. I'm just animated. I mean, what do you think about his comment? I didn't like it very much. And if he's listening, I'd love to get him on, the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember growing up, my dad, obviously I never got to see him compete and stuff. He was a fantastic athlete, from what I understood. And he was always talking, if we were talking football, you score a touchdown, act like you've been there before. He always talked about Barry Sanders, hand the ball to the rep. Man, I wanted to be that, but that's not me. I'm an excited roller coaster dude sometimes, and I believe in emotion, and sometimes that does come off as negative, I guess, and people see your body language, and it's funny because these kids come in as 7th graders, 8th graders into our athletic enhancement, and I know my body language sometimes doesn't tell my story. And these kids are nervous. And it's funny once they get to know me because they're like, hey, we were scared of you. You're intense. You're just crazy sometimes. But once they realize that craziness is because it's my passion for them and my love for them and for what they're doing, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. But I'm an emotional dude, and I know that. And to be honest with you, that's why I hired 2 coordinators. I'm not a coordinator. I know that about myself. I tried. I called plays for a while and at the JV level, and I'm thinking about 2 plays ago. And you got to know your weaknesses sometimes.
Yeah, I got to check Twitter. We're getting retweeted and all that sort of stuff. If that's what you say, it's that retweet thing. You are very similar to your cousin that I had an opportunity to coach, and his name is Ben Rooney, and then also Adam Rooney. Another one of your cousins is kind of the same way. They, it's kind of that passionate response.
Yeah, absolutely. In my mind, scoring a touchdown is hard. Playing the game of football is hard. And when you're doing successful things, you should celebrate it, that's what makes it fun to me. It's fun to be emotional. It's fun to fist pump. It's fun to high five and jump up in the air and do all that stuff. And I understand the other side. I understand people that don't like that and they act like you've been there. I appreciate that as well. But that's not me. I love the game of football. To me, it's an emotional thing. If you're invested in it, then you care. If you put in the time and you want to celebrate doing well.
You know what I always like to do to those coaches that are a little bit uptight and they don't like that? I want to tap them on the butt and say, good game.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the football program itself. Fort Madison Land, and also let's talk about a few things. If you were to look back at 2 memories, one memory being the greatest high school sporting experience that you ever personally attained, and then take us back to a travesty of sorts, something that just still haunts you to this day.
How long do we have?
Oh, we have 12 minutes and 16 seconds.
When it's personal, I'm kind of a dweller. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. That's what I've always been that way. I mean, I think from the time I started competing when I was 5, in wrestling, I focus on what I need to do to get better and the things that didn't happen instead of the things that did. I don't know. I guess probably the greatest memories that I have is just being with my friends and playing and, scoring touchdowns and catching passes. And my favorite thing in the world was to return punts. I still have dreams. I have a very vivid dream that happens a lot and maybe a couple times a month still. And it's happened pretty much my entire life where I see a punt up in the air and I hear the sound of it, and right when I catch it and I'm getting ready to take off running, I always wake up. It's been a reoccurring dream. I mean, I'm not joking. I've had that since I was 15 years old, and that was my favorite thing. So yeah, those things were cool. But just being with my buddies and like I told you, my best friend was our defensive coordinator all the way up until this year. He's an assistant wrestling coach, and we just talk about those times being together and whether the games are good or bad or whatever. The tragedy, I guess, to me was I got hurt in college. I underachieved a lot in high school. I mean, I really did. And reflecting makes me a better coach, I firmly believe. I'll never get that time back. It'll always haunt me. It's always going to bug me. But at the same time, I think that's a driving factor, and because I don't want my kids to have the same regrets that I have or do the same things. So I'm trying to use it as motivation. But I did get hurt in college, and I really loved the game of football, and I felt like I was still developing my love. And then it got taken from me, and I went through probably a harder time than most people, including my family, realized. I'm really good at kind of hiding things and putting masks on, but I didn't really know what to do because, to be honest with you, the whole reason I went to college was to play football, to get another opportunity to put on a helmet and see what I could do with it. And whether I was going to be really good or not, I didn't really care about. I loved the game of football. And all of a sudden it was yanked from me. And emotionally, I was pretty tore up on the inside, trying to hide it from everybody, but was in a really dark place. And luck, good friends, support system, whatever it may be, I got out of it. And here I am in this amazing position, in this amazing spot in my life. That's super cool.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even one up you on that, other than I did get a chance to coach while you were playing. And we won't get into that tonight, but
bad memories.
Oh, it's one of those things, and I got to give props to Coach Jim Knott. If Jim ever listens, he's a great guy, and we stole one from you guys, and it broke your heart that year. Yeah,
that was tough.
Wasn't for me. I was animated on the other side. I was jumping up.
You deserved it, man. You deserved it. I'm not a hater.
Oh, geez. But yeah, I look back at those moments, and yeah, I'm kind of a dweller too, so I can really relate. Now I'm dying to know what that college coach said to you in that small amount of time that puts you in a situation where you were like, you know what, I'll run through a brick wall for that guy.
I think it was just the way that he talked. He was a guy. He wasn't animated. I mean, and he's not. He had a strange knack about him that when he talked, you listened. And he was very smooth in his messages that he delivered. And I don't ever remember him yelling. I really don't. If you screwed up, he let you know it in a way that you were upset with yourself because he was upset with you. And I've never really met anybody else that could do that to me.
Your mom, probably.
Yeah. I mean, you know how it is when mom says I'm disappointed. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. That's like the worst thing in the world. I hated those conversations. But it wasn't just me. I mean, we had 100 guys on our roster in college, and all of them felt that same way. I mean, they all have nothing but love for Coach Bell. I've never heard anybody ever say anything bad about him. He's a special man. I firmly believe that. But I took some kids on a recruit trip years later, and I remember him talking about his program, and he said, I'm going to coach your kid like I would want my son coached. And he pointed me out, and he said, Derek, can you say that I'm that way? 100% yes. And, yeah, I love it too. I mean, it goes back to that passion. I mean, he was there for the right reasons. And he recruited us for the right reasons because he loved us. And even when I got hurt, I wasn't part of the team anymore. I couldn't play football. I wasn't going to produce. I could have been a nobody to him. But anytime he would see me on campus passing, he'd always call me over, talk to me, check how I was doing. He could have wrote me off. And he didn't, and that's very special to me. And not just him, the rest of the coaching staff at Monmouth. I was just out of camp. They all still know me by name. They're always asking how I'm doing, and they kind of follow us a little bit, and they know how we're doing. And it's a special culture at Monmouth College.
Well, I can see those traits about you. I would say that your team chemistry, your coaching philosophy, the culture that you're trying to set up is from that very well experience. You're going to coach kids just like they're your own.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate that. We too often, especially in the early days. I mean, in the early days, it was I love football. Okay, I'm getting into this thing. It was a little bit more old school, but the older you get, it just appears that we get into that situation. We got about 5 minutes left, so I want to go to let's go back, and it doesn't have to be, it can be in your coaching days, your playing days, whatever. What is the funniest story that you can tell? Obviously G-rated, to basically What's the funniest story or funniest situation that you were ever in as a student athlete or as a coach?
Man, that's a tough one. I'm going to struggle with that one, to be honest with you, just because, I don't know. That's why I love sports. They give you so many memories. and oh, man, I have seriously thousands and thousands of things rolling around in my head. I mean, things from wrestling. Wrestling's a pretty private culture. I have my brother on my team, so there's a lot of special, funny memories there. It's kind of cool. My brother was a freshman when I was a senior, so not that the hazing was going on, but there was a lot of fun to be had in that wrestling room with him. Man,
I put you on the side.
Struggling.
I put you on the spot there. And I know he is keeping it G-rated. He's not even, I can even read his lips and everything is just fine. Now, as we wind down here, what is the message that you want to tell your community, your coaching staff, and your players about this season?
Believe in what we're doing. We're doing the right things. I firmly believe that with every fiber of my being. Our kids are working their tails off, and that message goes to them too. Maybe reinforcement that, you know what, you're living the right way, and you deserve all of the positives that come from that. And so to the community, support these kids. Man, the things that they're doing, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and they're serving our community very well, and they're representing us extremely well. So.
I love that. Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you if they want to via Twitter, Facebook, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I'm all over social media. I love social media. So you can follow me on Twitter at Coach Doherty 20, Derek Doherty on Facebook. You can email me. bloodhoundfootball.com is our website. Tons of information. Please feel free to reach out to me and let's talk football.
Excellent. Be sure to stay on until I end the show here so we can chat just for a few moments, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. And you were listening to the CCA podcast, Coaching Culture in Athletics. This was episode 7 with head football coach Derek Doherty. If you want to follow us on Twitter at CCA Culture. Or you can go to Facebook. We're growing every day. Coaching Culture in Athletics. Be sure to give us a follow, all that sort of stuff. Books, speaking engagements, lots of things lined up. Lots of great things coming down the hatch. Also, be sure to follow us on Spreaker. Check iTunes. iHeartRadio. We are everywhere, folks. For everybody within the CCA Broadcast Network, good night.